G'day guys, Rukshan here. Thanks for joining me again for Rukshan On X. If you can let me know in the comments if you can hear me clearly, that would be amazing. I think I've got it all sorted though, so all the technical issues I've had last two episodes, I've managed to fix all that. So hopefully everything's actually coming through nice and clear. So as I've done last week, I think I did two episodes of this show, and it's really just a news show, but using X as the platform to deliver, what the news is from around the world. And I mentioned this at the start of every episode that I do of this show, and that is that, really X and these social media platforms are really the future of news because, mainstream media is really waiting far behind. So I will be covering, yep, Sharon's commented. So as you can see, guys, comments do come through as you are writing them. So please be kind in the comments. I will be getting rid of bad actors as I did last week. I got rid of one bad actor. So some people are abusing, this thing of displaying people's commentary because I think it's cool to have people's comments actually show up on the screen as well because then you're a part of the conversation. So, it takes a bit of trust between myself and you guys as the audience to kind of keep it, fairly a robust debate, but, obviously straying away from saying things which are not good or nice. And on that topic, I guess one of the main pieces of news in Australia right now, politically at least, is around anti-Semitism, around what happened in Melbourne at the fire with the fire at the synagogue. And I just want to touch on some of the consequences of that because we're seeing a lot of, I guess, politicians being involved in this now, a lot of new laws being proposed, a lot of money being spent, and a lot of, I guess, debate around whether we're going in the right direction when it comes to this and if this is actually infringing on freedoms of speech as well for some people that say that, they feel suffocated, for instance, in terms of where they can express themselves or related to these issues in the Middle East. And so there's lots of different sides to this debate. So I'm going to switch over to X because a lot of the commentary I've seen today on X is around this issue. Just give me one moment. And thanks for all the comments, guys, that are coming through. I did get some feedback. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do this. Some people did just say, Rukshan, you can take it a bit slower, the show, and you can read comments and kind of be more involved in that as well. So let me know if you want to do it that way as well. I can do that. There's really no set format for this. So it's very kind of, free flow. We're discovering how this goes as I do this and figuring this out because it's kind of a new kind of format for me to do as well, where it's different to the podcast that I do with Avi on Thursdays, which is a bit more structured with a guest. This is really just, whatever I see on X, and that just kind of brings up the topic. And of course, your comments, which are coming through, which are really cool to see. So let me just pull up my X. Give me 1 second. So these are some things that I bookmarked today, just to give a bit of context around this. Many of you might have already seen a lot of this news, but for those that haven't, I'm just going to play some of these clips because it'll just give that correct context around what I'm going to be discussing.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the referral of the Adass Israel synagogue fire attack to the Victorian Joint Counter-Terrorism Team, which unlocks the powers and capabilities of the AFP, ASIO and Victoria Police. The AFP's remit is to protect Australians and Australia's way of life, and for many months the AFP has been discussing how we can better support our state and territory partners to investigate hate crimes or threats against vulnerable communities. Unfortunately, in Australia today, those of Jewish ethnicity or religion are being targeted because of who they are. The fire of Labor MP Josh Burns' office, the car set alight in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, the attack on the Melbourne synagogue. This is a crime. This needs to stop. And today, the AFP will expand its remit with the support of the Commonwealth Government. Special Operation Avalite will be an agile and experienced squad of counter-terrorism investigators who will focus on threats, violence and hatred towards the Australian Jewish community and parliamentarians. In essence, they will be a flying squad to deploy nationally to incidents. The Commonwealth offences Special Operation Avalite will investigate will include urging violence against members or groups, advocating terrorism, advocating genocide, using a carriage service to make a threat, and using a carriage service to menace or harass. I want to assure the Jewish community that the AFP will continue to provide capability and resources to state and territory police. However, from today, the AFP will take a greater role. The AFP will not tolerate crimes that undermine Australia's security or our way of life. Thank you. Thank you.
And then later today, they also released a statement on their website, the AFP, just talking about what this new operation called Special Operation Alleviate to investigate anti-Semitism. And you can go there, you can have a read at what the parameters are and what they're going to be doing. I guess just a kind of basic summary of what this is. Now, we also had Shane Patton, the Commissioner of Victoria Police, also come out today and say that they are going after 3 suspects. So it looks like they have actually moved forward in their investigation when it comes to this. They didn't really give out any further information beyond that. So they do have 3 suspects, and we know that at least the Prime Minister, AFP and the police have also designated this as a terrorist attack, a domestic terrorist attack. So, the people that did perpetrate this, whoever they are, we don't know the full details, but, they've literally, I guess, when they do get caught, because I think the police do have some good leads on this from what Shane Patton was kind of alluding to, they're pretty much just ruining their lives with this stupid act. So I do hope that they do face the full brunt of the law in relation to setting alight a religious place of worship. I don't think that kind of activity is welcomed in Australia or any place really. So to have this designated as an act of terrorism really, I guess, gives the AFP, the police, more powers in terms of how they can maybe investigate this, how they can track people, the types of surveillance they can possibly use to bring these people to justice. So, at the end of the day, regardless of why it was done and all the debate around it, the fact that they will be held accountable, I think, is really important for the community, because we cannot, regardless of what you think about the relationship that we have with, between different communities, whatever's happening in the Middle East, whatever you think about the role of government and police is, you can't have people just going around and setting religious places of worship on fire, any business on fire, to be completely honest. Like, we have a lot of arson attacks here in Victoria, but in particular, places of religious worship, whether it be a synagogue or a mosque or a church, a Hindu temple. Now, I know people have commented online that when it comes to other places of religious worship, like, a church, for instance, the police might not take this stance. And that's true. There's been many cases where churches have been attacked, and we've seen a different way of dealing with this. But I think the heightened sense of what's happening right now in our community, the political implications for politicians, obviously the way that the entire community is feeling in that area where the synagogue is, has led to these type of actions being taken. And I'll get to what other people have to say about this as well, because there's still a bit of contention around this, these actions being taken by the AFP and whether it's required. So let me just play a few more videos. I got Jacinta Allen, the Victorian Premier. Let's hear what she had to say.
The evil anti-Semitic attack on the Addis Israel Synagogue in the early hours of Friday morning has now been declared a terrorist attack. We have seen a terrible increase in the number of acts of anti-Semitism here in this city and state, evil acts that have no place here. I'm seeking immediate advice on looking at how we can change and strengthen the laws to protect people going to their place of worship, to practice their faith, to pray to their God, as everyone of faith has the absolute right to do so in this city and state, safely and without fear. Our thoughts again today must be with the Jewish community here in Melbourne. We must remember and continue to hold the community who is grieving, who is suffering, in our hearts, and give them all of our support. Certainly that is what I pledge as Premier of Victoria, to give the Jewish community our ongoing support. The evil anti-Semitic attack on the...
So I'll stop that. That's the Premier of Victoria, Jacinta Allen, and we've also had the opposition leader speak about this today as well. And they're really going hardline on this, and they're talking about introducing these new, more stronger anti-vilification laws, introducing jail sentences for people that engage in types of, I guess, language or behaviour that might be considered extreme examples of anti-Semitism, and other, it includes other categories as well. So we are seeing a shift and a change in laws that are happening because of this. And obviously, people that want to have things like freedom of speech and freedom of expression, especially around an issue such as this, will debate this and weigh this, all right, and say, well, this is maybe a bad thing in the sense that the police, the government will use this against other people for different things. And that's generally what happens, right? Usually these kind of laws come in and it seems like it's appropriate for this particular instance, but then it'll be used in other instances as well, and in ways that we cannot yet imagine what the government could use these type of laws for. Now, unfortunately, I think what we're seeing here in Australia is that another impact perhaps of mass migration, of immigration, issues of people not really understanding Australian values or Australian culture, not assimilating into the population in a way that has tolerance of different ethnic groups that are here as well. So, for instance, in Australia, we have so much multiculturalism. We have so many people that live here who come from countries where there's some type of ethnic conflict or historical conflicts where people don't get along, they don't like each other in those parts of the world. And I don't care about the reasons. Like, obviously, people can always express the reasons for why they don't like another group of people. And I've grown up my whole life in the southeast suburbs of Australia, Victoria, in Dandenong, and I've come across all types of different cultures, especially during school time. And I have noticed that, depending on where people are from, there's all these conflicts. So we can't adjudicate those conflicts in Australia in the way that people might want us to, but we need to be able to live in a peaceful, harmonious society that respects and values everyone's cultures and beliefs and traditions, and especially ones that fit in really well with the Australian values and culture and traditions. And that is, things like freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom of religion. So, we wouldn't typically think that protesting outside of a synagogue or any kind of religious place is an appropriate thing. Yes, there's freedom of speech, but recently I've seen over the last couple of weeks people starting to protest in front of synagogues. Now, whatever you might think is happening overseas, you don't go in front of religious places of worship in Australia and protest against other communities. I don't think those things should be tolerated. And the government is unfortunately using that now as a backbone of introducing even more powers that they can use against the wider population. So when I say this is the impact of immigration, I'm saying that people that are coming here can't leave stuff from their home countries, for instance, and they bring that kind of intolerance here as well. And they'll use that to go protest at a place of worship when it's not appropriate. See, the things that people here are saying is, anti-Semitic. Maybe back home in their countries, they don't consider it that way. But when they come here, they should perhaps think twice about bringing that same type of hatred or that same type of animosity that they have to Australia as well, because it doesn't fit in. And I can say that as someone that comes from a country that's had a civil war with hundreds of thousands of people have died over 25 years or so. So, having seen that firsthand, you don't want to bring those problems here. And, unfortunately, I think the government, as much as I don't agree with the powers and all these kind of things being increased, in this instance for the sake of protecting places of religious worship from people that can't seem to, keep away from them, I think these kind of measures have to be taken. I'd love to read some of your comments now. Just give me a second. Let's pull it up. Shame on you, Rukshan. Woke doesn't suit you. I don't think I'm being woke. I think I'm just being very measured in dealing with these type of things, because at the end of the day, if you want to have multiculturalism and you want that to be successful and work, which clearly it isn't in many parts of the West, it's being overrun, you need to have a set identity for what is Australian values. And if those things are being breached, then the governments, people like Albanese, it shouldn't have ever got to this. It shouldn't have ever got to a point where a synagogue would be firebombed, for instance. Now, we don't have all the full details yet, but it shouldn't get to those kind of points because of something that's happening overseas, right? We shouldn't be attacking different ethnic communities here. And a lot of these people, for instance, the Jewish community, they've been here, third, fourth, fifth generation, so they shouldn't be being attacked for something that's happening overseas because people can't handle those situations when they're here. What debate is one thing. Protesting, there's extreme measures that they're discussing. Like some people want the pro-Palestinian protests that are happening every week now for like almost a year and a bit to be cancelled and stopped. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't think that it should be stopped. I think people have a right to protest. They need to do these things, but of course, you can't have extreme elements in there holding up, terrorist symbols. You can't have them threatening private businesses. You can't have domestic, I guess, economic terrorism that we see sometimes at the ports, blocking roads, things like this. So those things need to be kept in check. So the right of protest, of course, is essential, and people should be doing that when it comes to a war. Everyone has the right to do that. We've done that for many different wars, but it has to be balanced and it has to be measured. And I think right now, some of the actions that we're seeing don't really fit into that. So I'm not trying to be woke. I'm not trying to go and support the government in all of this. But I think there is a lot of major failures over the last couple of months, especially last year, where the government has failed to address this, elephant in the room, which is the fact that a lot of elements of multiculturalism in Australia is failing. We have people that, don't like each other in many instances, openly showing that on the streets and hating on different communities, and it's not appropriate. It wouldn't be appropriate if it happened to the Muslim community. It's not appropriate if it happens to the Jewish community. It's just not appropriate, but it's been openly done now. I don't know if this is aimed at me. Multiculture is a curse and can't possibly work. Go home. Well, there's many cases of successful multiculturalism, and there's many communities who have successfully integrated into Western societies, even into Australia, and they've successfully contributed a lot. And you don't hear too many about their wars. You don't hear about their issues too much. You don't hear about them trying to, force certain religious views. You don't hear them complaining too much. They're just getting on with life. So there's many instances of successful integration and multiculturalism. But I think what's happened over the last, I guess, 20, 30 years, multiculturalism has not really been done in the proper way in the West, where, when people come to a country, they're being taught to hate the country. They're being taught that what they're bringing in adds even more value beyond what the country offers. So that is more important than what the country has. So a lot of countries like Australia have no identity. And you're seeing that, like, for instance, when I see sometimes the pro-Palestinian protests, they're mixed in with the anti-Australian, anti-colonial style protests of hate for Australia. Those two things are mixed together. So you have a community that wants the support of the Australian public for what's happening in Gaza, but at the same time, there's people there that are openly hating on Australia and calling it like this colonial pariah that needs to be destroyed and all these things. So those things aren't compatible. So we have those type of issues in society. So I don't think it's just a case of it's never worked. Sorry guys, I'm just reading through the comments here, trying to see if there's anything I could respond to before I keep going. I like this one. Oh, where is it? No. Was that it? Just look at how two-tier bumster is emboldening lawlessness in Britain right now. Yeah, look, I mean, I really don't want to see Australia turn into what we're seeing in the UK, what it has become. The UK has really lost all of its identity, really. Apart from the royals, when you think about the UK and you see what's happening there, you feel like the culture is completely disappearing and it's being replaced. So I think the first step to protecting a cultural identity of a nation is actually protecting the values of that nation and upholding those things. So, when it comes to things like freedom of speech and respecting each other and respecting, for instance, the right of worship or the right of religious groups to exist peacefully, those things are important. So yes, in our society, we should, of course, be completely against the burning of religious places of worship. Anyway, guys, I'm going to keep going. I'll come to the comments a bit later. Just give me 1 second. Let me just go to the next topic. All right, and then it's just a criticism of Anthony Albanese. So I think the Labor government is under a lot of pressure because of what's happened, and you've seen Albanese really change his tune over the last couple of days, and you're seeing him become more and more under attack from every single angle. But I think this one here, where Anthony Albanese was playing tennis on the day of the terror attack, while the Jewish community waited for answers, I think probably this is a bit more probably he's not deserving of this. He was just playing tennis, whatever. I think the way that it's been characterized as him, being not there and he's going to go enjoy tennis, I don't think that's the correct approach to this. But you're seeing these attacks come more and more after Anthony Albanese, and even myself, as someone that's not a big fan of Albanese or the Labor government, I think this is a little bit ridiculous. Of course, it's not just that one day where he was playing tennis. I think over the whole year, he's failed to address this situation in a manner that really strikes the balance for Australia and respects all the communities who are involved and really sets guidelines and boundaries around this. So I don't think this one day of Albanese playing tennis, as funny as it is to kind of hold him accountable in that sense, like he was out there playing tennis while this terror attack was happening, I don't think that actually flies as a legitimate story. There's many other reasons and complaints that we can find against Albanese when it comes to this particular thing. Now, Peter Dutton, as the opposition leader, he's really gone, like Albanese has actually gone ahead and done some of the things that Peter Dutton said he would do if he won the election coming up, but he's really going in hard on this issue. And I just want to show you a little video that Peter Dutton put out on this, just to show you what the opposition is saying about this.
Today, I announced that stronger action and national leadership will be brought to the table, and a Dutton coalition government will act from day one to fix Labor's law enforcement crisis. It's clear to all Australians that the Prime Minister's weak leadership has led to a very divisive period in our country. The government's initial response to the protests on the steps of the Sydney Opera House was completely and utterly inadequate. The blatant racism that we've seen against people of Jewish faith and heritage has been obvious on a daily basis. Thousands of cases of people who have been targeted in their businesses, in their communities, in their places of worship, and that is thoroughly unacceptable. We will be creating a dedicated anti-Semitism task force. It will provide an opportunity for us to say in a very clear voice, unequivocal to the Australian people, that we will not tolerate racism of any description, and we will not tolerate anti-Semitism in any form.
So that is a response from Dutton. Now, that anti-Semitism task force that he was talking about, well, Anthony Albanese has actually established that now, but you can see he's taken a very kind of different stance, and he's blaming Albanese for many things across the year. And look, I think there's many people right now that are looking at Peter Dutton and his leadership as an opposition leader in terms of what he's proposing, not just on this issue and many other issues. And he is someone that is speaking more clearly. You can see that he's got more of a a plan when it comes to certain issues that we're facing as a community. Now, of course, that comes with the not having the stresses of being in government. When you're in opposition, it's a lot easier to, say words, because you don't really have to do anything, right? The actions come later, and that's when the real test is. But as of right now, Albanese is really struggling, I think, in terms of popularity, in terms of he doesn't look like he wants to be in the job half the time. He looks like he's struggling all the time. So I think it's going to be a really tight election when it comes down to it next year. All right, let's move on to the next story now. I just wanted to show you guys some. Now, I'm not really an expert on this particular topic, and even though I do follow it closely, like many other people on X would do when I follow geopolitical issues, and that is what is happening across in the Middle East, in Syria. And I thought this image actually highlighted some of the issues of what's going on down there. And it's very hard for us to understand, actually. I think for many people who are looking at this, don't really understand the complexities, all the players involved, all the backstabbing, all the involvement of like the US, the CIA, the Pentagon, of course, Iran, and you have Turkey, you have Russia, you have Israel involved. So all these different players involved in Syria, and you've seen the end of the Bashar al-Assad regime after decades and decades of holding power in Syria. And from as an outsider looking into it, at least from what I'm observing on online commentary, at least right now, many people, well, it appears on social media, almost all of Syria is happy with the outcome of Assad being kicked out of the country. Now he's in exile in Russia, we're led to believe. So what that means for the future of the country, it's really hard to say. Of course, it's a very complicated issue, and you're not going to find answers to that in the next couple of days, and you're definitely not going to find answers to any of this on my commentary. But what I'm noticing, of course, again, is there is this fear creeping in regards to how the West deals with this. So how countries like Australia deal with this, how the US especially should tackle this. Now, Trump has been very firm and clear, saying that the US really shouldn't have any type of involvement in this beyond obviously maintaining security, their security interests in the area. They shouldn't be getting involved in these things. Let these people kind of sort out their mess, as it were. And that is, I think, the approach that we need to be looking at these type of issues, because it's very complicated. Now, a lot of people are saying that there's fears that the Assad regime might go after other minorities in not the Assad regime, sorry, the new kind of group that's taken over, which is a blend of ISIS and Al Qaeda and other rebel factions and all these different groups that have come together to overthrow Assad, which looks like really an organized coup the way that it happened. They're saying that there's going to be issues with those fighters now turning on minority groups in the country, and really it's really hard to say how that will all play out, to be completely honest. And I'm not really jumping to any conclusions and just seeing how it's all going to kind of happen. But I did see, of course, there is extreme elements within these groups, and that is really the problem here for many of us when we're looking at this, that the extreme elements, they might try some things, they might be stopped. Who knows how it'll play out. But I saw this one video from today, and this gives you an idea of these extremists which are in these groups, even if they might be moderates that want to repair and fix a country like Syria. Obviously it's gone to it's almost it's falling apart, right? The country is not there right now, and you'd think the main focus would be to actually fix the country now. Like, you got rid of Assad, you've had all these problems for decades, you've had all these people in prison, you've had all these kind of issues that everyone's talking about. You'd think the main focus is on fixing the actual country itself and ensuring that the people of Syria, especially a lot of the people that fled to Europe, to countries like Australia and other Western countries, can now come back to Syria because it's Assad's gone. So you'd think fixing the country is the main priority. But when I see these kind of extremist elements in some of these fighters and the things they're talking about, you can already see perhaps that the future might be a little bit bleak because their focus is elsewhere. So I just want to show you this one clip of this extremist. I'm not saying that it represents everyone that's involved in this kind of regime change that's taken place, because everyone's kind of playing it cool right now and hoping for the best. But this is some of the groups, and this is some of the things that they're saying. And I think these are kind of the groups that the West might be more worried about creating chaos. So let's have a look.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. دخلنا مسجد بني أمية مطأطئين الرؤوس ذليلين لله سبحانه وتعالى خاضعين له سبحانه وتعالى، نقول أن من نصرنا هو الله، وأن الله تعالى بقوته هو الذي نصرنا، لا بقوتنا ولا بحولنا. هنا عقر دار الإسلام، هنا الشام، هنا عمر بن عبد العزيز، هنا أرض الإسلام، هنا دمشق، هنا فسطاط المسلمين. من هنا يا قدس، من هنا قادمون يا قدس. صبرا يا أهل غزة، صبرا صبرا. تكبير! الله أكبر! لبيك لبيك يا أقصى، لبيك 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 يا أقصى، لبيك 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 يا أقصى.
Yeah, so that's just like one example. And, my personal opinion is, when I look at, countries in parts of the Middle East and parts of Asia, one of the problems is when they have these kind of, revolutions or regime changes, the focus is not really, like even here, it's not really about fixing the country itself. These guys are already talking about, they're going to go attack Jerusalem, they're going to go take Israel and all these kind of things. Like, that is their obsession. And this is many reasons, I believe personally, that these places really are crappy, backwards countries. That's the truth. A lot of the countries outside of the Western Hemisphere are backwards. They don't, really look after their own people. Their people have to run off into countries like Australia to survive. And when they come here, some of the people that come here as well don't leave some of these views behind either. So those countries never really get anywhere. And that has been the story, I think, of many parts of the Middle East. There's, of course, successful countries in the Middle East, and some places are doing it very well. But most of these kind of war-torn style countries keep repeating these things because the people that end up taking over, the people who are involved in this, are obsessed with totally different things that don't really go to, creating a better society for the people that live there. So, yeah, it's not worrying as such because a lot of the times these guys are just talking crap. But there is an element of that where the resources of the country might end up being wasted on not really progressing the country any further in that sense. Now, in countries like Australia, we had celebrations around this. So this is in Sydney somewhere. Let's have a look. I thought it was very amusing seeing the horse riding through the streets of Sydney there. Look, I mean, generally, people who have been under an oppressive regime for a long time, especially these kind of family dynasties that end up taking power for like 30, 40 years or 50 years in these kind of countries, there would be a lot of built up resentment against those types of regimes, and a lot of people would be happy. They might be feeling very happy about the future of the country and the possibilities now that these people are gone. But the issue, I think, again, is when I play this next video from Sydney as well, some of the things that they're talking about, I'll just read Drew Pavlova's comment here. Let's see what he has to say about this. I'm very happy that the blood-drenched Assad regime collapsed today, but the Islamist celebration rally in Sydney features absolutely heinous anti-Jewish Khyber Kaba Yahud hate chants. The Bali bomber terrorist something snug sung this chant as you were sentenced to the killing. So this is, again, people celebrating, obviously, the regime change in Syria, but also making it these kind of anti-Semitic slurs. Let's have a listen in on Sydney. Yeah, so for me personally, like, this is the main issue that I don't understand with a lot of the people that come to countries like Australia and bring this animosity here and spend their time trying to kind of create that same sentiment here as well. It doesn't really, I don't think that's why, I think that's why we're struggling as a country when it comes to multiculturalism, because certain groups of people can't seem to put that behind. Now, this video here is, of course, any kind of dictator or authoritarian regime in countries where they rule for a long time, they end up amassing a lot of wealth by stealing the wealth of the population. So that was just some of Assad's cars, which I'm sure will be repurposed by the new regime in some manner. or destroyed. Who knows what will happen to it? But you'll see a lot of these kind of videos of people going through the presidential palace or the houses or the mansions, and you see the excesses of these people. And of course, that's very obvious, and that's how these people have maintained power for a long time, enriching themselves. So yeah, that was that. This interesting interaction here from Ireland. So Irishman asked celebrating Syrians if they will go back now that Assad is gone. Let's have a listen in.
What's going on here? What's this all about?
So for the past few decades we've been under constant oppression by Bashar al-Assad, the dictator of Syria.
Yeah.
He's been imprisoning civilians, he's been murdering, torturing, massacring everybody left and right.
All right.
So since this morning, since 2 a.m. we've reclaimed Damascus being the capital of Syria.
Yeah, I understand.
So the entire country is free now.
So you're free now?
We are free now.
So
finally.
Finally. So now does that mean all you go back to Syria now?
The economic situation isn't correct.
Okay. So it's economic reasons. You're in Ireland, economic reasons.
We hope we can go back. We wish we can go back.
I'm sure you can go back now that you're free from occupation.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of comments like this, like now the Syrian refugees, for instance, in Europe, where there's hundreds of thousands of them, should now go back because Assad's gone. But I don't think that's the way this plays out. Why would you want to go back there, really? If you've ended up in Europe somehow or in one of these Western countries, it would make much more sense for you to kind of try to stay there. So a lot of these people will not go back. I did see that some of the people from the bordering countries around Syria, for instance, from Turkey and so on, are starting to come back. So that's a bit more geographically, maybe they want to be in their homeland. But yeah, if you're in Europe, I doubt these people are going to jump on planes besides for a holiday and return to their countries. It doesn't work like that. So I think a lot of these comments are probably people just writing that stuff. All right, let's just go to the next lot of stories that I have. Or should I read some comments first? Maybe I'll read some comments. Let's have a look. I need someone to help me maybe moderate comments in the future so I can just kind of see the comments that I should reply to, because after not looking at the screen for long enough, I miss all these comments. Yeah, that's very good observation there, Simba. Of course, war is profitable. There is no money to be made in peace. Just read comments here from Unfiltered. Syria is going to turn into the Islamic State Daesh always wanted. Let them be, not our problem, and definitely we should accept no Syrian refugees. That's a comment from one individual. Well, there shouldn't be any Syrian refugees now. If it looks like a lot of the majority of the country wants Assad regime gone, so Avi needs a job on Monday nights. He can be your moderator. Yeah. He does. Maybe he can be the moderator, but he might just pick comments that are kind towards him. So that's all right. I might just give it a go and keep moderating myself for now, instead of getting Avi Emily to moderate for me. All right, let's bring up some more stories on X here and see what people are talking about. All right, okay, let's just change up the pace. I've been talking about the Middle East, been talking about war, Israel, Gaza, Syria, all that for too long. So let's just change the pace of this and go to an interesting, maybe funny story for some of you guys. Let's switch it over. Now, this is Raygun. I don't know if you guys remember Raygun from the Olympics, our #1 break dancer, possibly the greatest dancer of all time. And there's been this funny story where a comedian was putting on a show around Raygun, and the lawyers have got involved. Raygun's lawyers have got involved and told her that she can't do it. So, and one of the things in that they had said was that she technically owns the dance moves that she did, right? The kangaroo and all that kind of nonsense. So I thought this was quite funny, and the way that Sky News has covered this, the headline is even funnier. Reagan has been accused of cultural appropriation after her lawyers claimed a comedian's musical about the breakdancer would infringe on the Olympians' ownership of the kangaroo dance. Crazy, like crazy that the lawyers firstly said that her reputation or something would be harmed if this show goes ahead. I think she's already done damage to herself by her performance at the Olympics. I don't think anything a comedian was going to do by doing the dance or doing a show about her would have done any more damage. So I think really what'll happen here is I think this lady, the comedian that's doing it, what's her name, Stephanie Broadbridge, she's going to change the name of the show, so it doesn't actually have Raygon's actual name, and then I think a lot of people now will go to watch this show and have a good night and have fun. I don't know this ridiculous thing by the lawyers for Raygon saying that the Kangaroo Dance movie is somehow copyrighted by her, unless unless like there's some sort of law around that. I think that would be quite ridiculous. Let's have a listen to the comedian and what she had to say.
Hi, I'm comedian Steph Broadbridge. I'm just hanging out in my casual day wear. My trial show tonight for Raygun the Musical has been cancelled. Raygun's lawyers got in touch with the venue and threatened legal action, so we will be refunding everyone their $10 or comp ticket back. For that, her lawyers trademarked my poster, which is flattering. I hope they do something fun with that. And they were also worried that I was damaging her brand, which I would never do. She doesn't need me to do that. They were very concerned that people would think that Rachel Gunn was affiliated with the musical. I want to assure everyone she will not be part of the show. She's very welcome to come. I would love for her to see it. They also said I wasn't allowed to do the dance because she owns the kangaroo dance. That one did puzzle me. I mean, that's an Olympic level dance. How would I possibly be able to do that without any formal breakdancing training? Anyway, to alleviate the concerns of Raygun's lawyers, I will be changing the name of the character to Raygun with an I. So I hope that fixes everyone's concerns.
Well, there you go. She's going to change the name of the show to Raygun with an I, and you can hear the ridiculous demands made by her lawyers. So I don't know if this is going to play in Melbourne, but if this show actually played in Melbourne, I would go to have a laugh just to support this comedian and the fact that, who the hell does this Raygun think she is? Seriously. Let's keep moving on. I find another feel-good story because I don't want to have too many, just too much doom and gloom, because a lot of the news, of course, these days that we hear everywhere is just sadness. This one I found quite funny. I can't actually play the audio track because it's a commercial track and probably get me kicked off YouTube. But it's just a relationship between Elon Musk and the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni. So let's just have a look. And you can just imagine this with some piano music in the background or some romantic track by Ed Sheeran. Let's have a look. I think it's really just about the way that she looks at him and just the way that they communicate with each other. Now, Elon Musk has said online there's no relationship between them, which is even funnier. I don't know, maybe we should get someone that can read body language to give an analysis of what's going on there. But Elon has denied anything is going on, which in itself is quite funny, to be completely honest. I'll just find what he said. Let's have a look at what Elon said. Someone wrote that oh crap, they're doing it, aren't they? And Elon wrote, no. All right, guys, so that was just some light relief from all the doom and gloom I've been talking about. So let's just switch back over to the next couple of stories that I had, and this is really around Donald Trump and an interview that he gave on NBC, which I thought was a great interview. Donald Trump really handles the media really well. Now you can see when Donald Trump talks now that he's got the mandate of the people, the consent of the people, because of the way that he won the election and everything that he's been through. He talks with so much more, I guess, gravitas, authority, and he's very certain in his answers. That's the changes that I've noticed, and he's always been in that manner. But I think now, because he is the 47th president to be coming up soon as Biden's out of the office, you can really see him just giving a masterclass when he talks to the media. So one of the things that were discussed, this is something I discussed last week, which is around the preemptive pardons that the Biden White House might be doing when it comes to people like Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, and a few others. And he was asked about this question. I'm just going to play the first half of this because he gives a really good answer. I don't think he really cares about going after these people. He's more interested in the country. And my personal take is that he actually wants Joe Biden to pardon all these people, because imagine pardoning people who have not committed any crime, for instance. It just makes them look guilty, right? That's what I think. It's just an easy way to just completely, for the rest of their lives, those people are going to be tainted if they're pardoned by Joe Biden. And every one of us who are reasonable, sane people that have been observing what's happened over the last couple of years can put two and two together and be like, yeah, these people have something to hide. So let's see how Donald Trump answers the NBC reporter.
Is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee.
We're going to...
For what they did,
Yeah.
honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should go to
everybody,
jail?
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that,
on
it carries
strengthening the-
weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, Unselect Committee, a year.
So yeah, that's quite an exchange there with Donald Trump, and he kind of just, he gives it away a little bit where he says, yeah, jail them, they should be in jail, and you see the reporter just kind of leaning. So do you mean like put them in jail? He's like, well, yeah, maybe they should be, and maybe Biden should pardon them. So he's really playing this really well, and I think we are going to see, as crazy as it sounds, by the time that Biden's out of office, there is going to be, lists and lists of people who have, not been accused of anything legitimately in terms of in a court, for instance, or by a prosecutor. They're going to be on this pardon list, and it's going to be crazy that when the names come out. So Yeah. What do you guys think? Have you guys watched this Donald Trump interview on NBC? There was also a question in that interview about RFK Jr. and vaccines. So I'll just play the first half of that.
Has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
If they're dangerous for the children. Look.
So possibly?
When you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent. It was, 1 out of 100,000, and now it's close to 1 out of 100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug companies, the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people. And I said, let's all get together and let's figure out where we're going. Because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And you look at our drug prices, they're much higher than the prices for...
I'll stop that there. I think some of this we can't play on some of these platforms. But someone did ask about why did Trump have his hands all over Macron so much. So let me just find that clip on X. Just give me a second while I find that. Yes, so Trump did go to the opening of the Notre Dame Church in France after it was restored. Now, I think 2019 or 2018, there was a massive fire that kind of, gutted the building, and it's been heavily restored now. So Trump, Elon Musk, a lot of world leaders were actually at that. And let's just have a look at the handshake between Trump and Macron. So I think that's just a way of Trump. Let me just pull it up. Here it is. I'll make it big. Let's make it big. Let's have a look at the handshake. We'll let it play. I think that's just Trump being Trump. There's been a few instances between these two with these weird handshakes, and Trump always ensures that somehow he gets the upper hand. Like arm wrestling. I'm just reading some of the comments here. I'll see if there's another video actually of this, the previous time they shook hands. There's another time. That's from Notre Dame as well. It is like an arm wrestle. But yeah, I was just deviating from what I was talking about. But yes, it's always entertaining when Trump is actually on the world stage meeting these leaders. You see him trying to, well, he does in a way, in his own way that he's always done, assert himself into that situation and really show people that he's there for business. I'm getting close to the end of the show, guys. If there's any other stories that you think I might have missed out on, let me know. I've had a few others saved, but I think I'm almost up to about an hour on the stream. I'll just go to X actually right now and see what people are talking about. Let's have a look at X right now. So yeah, a lot of it's on the AFP. Okay, I'll play this story actually. There was a school bus in Adelaide that some people were saying was burnt out, deliberately burnt as an act of Islamophobia. Let's have a look at this.
The panicked school bus driver raced outside and grabbed a garden hose after the fire broke out. Emergency crews were called to Ranella in Adelaide's southern suburbs just before midnight. The bus, which belongs to local Islamic college Iqra, was badly damaged.
It could be an act of Islamophobia. The reason why I say that is because it wasn't hidden that the bus is a bus for an Islamic school.
After a sleepless night, driver Errol Kosh managed to get the students to school this morning, but their exams had to be rescheduled.
Well, I'm not happy about it because it was a good bus. But, I mean, things happen. And I rang my boss last night and I told her what's happened. Made arrangements to go and get another one this morning.
Crime scene investigators believe the blaze was deliberately lit. Community leaders say, religion aside, the attack should be condemned.
The point that we should really be focusing on is that it is a bus intended for the transport of kids.
Police would like to hear from anyone with security footage in their hunt for the suspects.
So yeah, there's that story. I'm just seeing that now, really. Let's have a look. It's from Ian Miles Chong. It's been 11 years since Gaddafi was taken out by Hillary Clinton's proxies, and Libya still doesn't have a functioning government. So yeah, we have seen regime change, of course, many times in the Middle East, and sometimes it hasn't really gone to become a successful thing at all for the country. It's actually made it even worse. Maybe Iraq, some people would say, is another example, since Saddam Hussein's regime was taken out, and so on. This is just breaking news just before Israel struck chemical weapons and missile storage sites in Syria. So the US has been attacking ISIS targets in Syria since this change has taken place. And Israel has been very busy attacking a lot of military installations in Syria. A lot of, in this instance, some chemical weapons storage facilities, other weapons facilities. They've actually even taken some land as well near the border as a buffer zone. Oh yeah, there's this as well. So this is another story, bit of a one that was actually, I was going to say was not expected, but actually maybe it was, considering he's really good friends with P Diddy, and that is Jay-Z has been accused of rape of a 13-year-old with Diddy. Now he's denying the whole thing, so I'll just try to bring that up actually. Yeah, Jay-Z accused of raping 13-year-old with Sean Diddy Combs more than 2 decades ago. Now, Jay-Z is, of course, Beyonce's husband. He's involved in all types of political nonsense as well, and grandstanding. And to see these individuals caught up in this as well is quite interesting. So there's a lot of commentary around that and around Beyonce, what she might have known, if she had known at all. Now, of course, these are all allegations and accusations, but Jay-Z is quite an interesting character. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for my show for today. Let me read some of the comments and try to respond to these comments. Just give me a second. So Avi's been spending his whole night, I think, watching my show. So thanks to everyone actually who's been watching. I can see there's about 1,800 people across the different platforms. So I actually multi-stream this at the moment to YouTube, Facebook, and X. So that's why you see all the comments coming from different platforms. If you can't see when people are commenting, I will be streaming to Rumble, Kick, and Twitch, and a few other platforms as well. So that's one of the benefits of multi-streaming. But yes, Ivy, I think he's up watching tips from my show, so he can improve his own show that will go tomorrow night, the Avi Yemeni Report at 7 p.m. Avi Rukshan wants you to sort his comments. Avi is very technically challenged. I think he'll have a really hard time doing anything like that. So I covered this kind of earlier. Anyone have any leads on the firebombing suspects? Is there any chance they were the Nazis? I mean, look, we don't know yet. The police seem to have 3 suspects. They haven't given too much information around this. But you think they're closing in on it, and we'll find out soon. Thanks for watching, Paul. Thank you. Someone saying that Russell Brand was a PDD party animal as well. Well, it'll be interesting to see this PDD list or the Epstein list, see all these individuals involved in this. Thanks, Richard. Thank you so much. Yes. I think this is indifference to Avi. At least Rukshan is a normal person. Yes, I agree. I'm very normal compared to Avi Yemeni. Thanks, guys. I'm just reading all your comments of thanks. Thanks for watching the show. So, no Diddy, of course, yes. So I will be probably on tomorrow as well. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it in the mornings or in the evening just before Avi's show. So Avi's show is at 7 p.m. I might do mine at 6 till 7 just to kind of lead in. So he might get a few more viewers from switching over from my show. I don't know. I might help him out in that sense to get more viewers. Otherwise, I might actually do it in the mornings as well. Just kind of a morning, just to change it up. So Monday nights, Tuesday mornings, Wednesday nights, and then Thursday mornings, something like this. So I'm not still 100% sure exactly how many days or the schedule yet, but I will eventually, I think, put up a schedule and a time so for sure, at this time, Rukshan should be streaming his show on X. Rook is gold. Paul has said, you are avoiding the difficult comments, Rook. I don't think I'm avoiding the difficult comments. I'm just trying to, pick out different comments that kind of give a gist of what people are saying. Sometimes I'm trying to avoid going into a deeper, longer conversation because I'm trying to finish up the show, and I'm just seeing some of these comments now. Okay, yeah, I noticed some chemistry between Jill Biden and the Donald. Okay, just before I finish up, let me find this Jill Biden and Donald Trump pictures, if anyone hasn't seen these. And a lot of people are saying, find a woman that looks at you the way that Jill Biden looks at Donald Trump. So that's where that kind of comment comes from. But there you go. Maybe it's just the moment that the photograph was taken, it just captured her eyes glazing into him. But, maybe she does admire Donald Trump. Maybe she actually voted for Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Jill Biden. That was interesting. I did see there was a funny AI, this one here. Okay, let's watch this. This is what happens with AI. So they're just looking at each other and then bang. Yes, we like Rukshan. He highlighted my comments that were negative about him, and I think that takes guts. Yeah, look, I'm really open to criticism. So I know a lot of people are critical of some of my views. I'm not hiding from that. I'm able to answer for my own views and my own opinions. I just feel like that's the way it should be. Not everyone's going to be right on everything, and not everyone's going to agree on everything. People are going to have differing opinions, so I'm totally open to that. Jill's looking hot ever since she was seen voting in a bright red outfit. Avi just censors me. Yeah, no censorship here, not like Avi's show, guys. Anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm going to end it here. It's been a lovely time spending some time with you guys and reading your comments. And thank you for joining me again for another episode of Rukshan on X. Until next time, make sure you subscribe. You can find me on X at The Real Rukshan. You can find me on YouTube at The Real Rukshan, Facebook, but Rumble at The Real Rukshan. But I think the place I prefer really to use these days is X at The Real Rukshan. Thanks, guys. Have a good night and see you all